So ABC and Walt Disney Corporation have yanked Jimmy Kimmel because Donald Trump is upset about what Jimmy said in his monologue about Charlie Kirk. And people are saying this is the end of freedom of the press, whatever. Y'all, these are for-profit corporations. I made a whole long video about it just a couple of minutes ago. Like, these are businesses that are going to do whatever protects their profit. They don't have ethics, y'all. They don't actually give a shit about democracy or you or I or our rights or what's happening in this country. They just care about money. So we're going to build a comprehensive boycott against the Walt Disney Company, right? You ready to give up your Disney Plus? You ready to tell Walt Disney why that is? You ready to give up all shows on ABC? You're going to make sure that you don't go to any Disney theme parks and you don't purchase Disney merch. You ready to work together with your local grassroots organizations to put together a comprehensive, publicized boycott with demands? Because boycotts have to have people who buy into them. You have to have specific demands, and you have to be willing to maintain the boycott for as long as it takes until those demands are met, right? The only language that they speak is money, so we have to hit them in the wallet. We should not be surprised when a for-profit corporation prioritizes their profit margin above all else. This is capitalism. This is what they do. I do want to remind you real quick of the double standard here, because we have now seen two different journalists, one at MSNBC and the other at the Washington Post. The Washington Post should not surprise anybody. And now the canceling of Jimmy Kimmel, or his show being yanked. I guess he's not officially canceled, but his show has been pulled off the air. Oh yeah, and let's not forget Stephen Colbert earlier this year. Right, all of these people are losing their jobs over saying, pretty benign things. 3 of them for saying things about a podcaster. The president of the United States has his panties in a twist because they said things he didn't like about a podcaster. Yeah, but it's the left. We're the ones who are fragile snowflakes, right? If you're so big and tough and strong and nothing bothers you, then why is it that you can't handle people saying things you disagree with? You have to get them fired? I mean, again, I understand advancement of his authoritarian agenda. It's meant to scare everybody. It's meant to chill dissent. I get all of that. But it is important to note that people criticizing a podcaster for the reprehensible racist, transphobic, homophobic things he said and built his career on, the harm that he caused to countless people. You can't talk about that, or you might lose your job if you work for one of these major networks or a major publication like the Washington Post. Meanwhile, on Fox News, Brian Kilmeade said,
they have given billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it
just kill him. What the? Yeah, Brian Kilmeade said that on air. He still has his job. First of all, we can talk about what that other gentleman said. I'm sorry, I don't know all the Fox News hosts' names. He said that billions have been spent on homeless people and that they don't want to take the services. Dude, addiction medicine is massively underfunded in this country. Mental health services, housing support, massively underfunded in this country. There are so many more people who need beds and treatment than there are beds available. And Donald Trump is doing his damnedest to cut funding from programs that actually help transition people out of homelessness, get them stable, get them employed, and get them housing. Donald Trump is cutting all of the programs that actually help end homelessness. Also, what the fuck do you mean if they won't take treatment, then put them in jail? For doing what? For being homeless? I understand that the uber conservative 6 on the Supreme Court have basically done their best to criminalize homelessness. Let's look at it from a conservative point of view, right? Like, pretend you don't give a shit about homeless people and you can dehumanize them like Brian Kilmeade did and said that you should give them involuntary lethal injections for just being homeless. By the way, in most major cities, the proportion of veterans in our homeless population is between 12 and 25%. You want to know why a lot of people struggle with addiction and are homeless? It's because they have fucking trauma from being in the military. You know why another significant portion of our homeless folks are homeless? It's because they are youth who are fleeing unsafe living conditions where they are being abused, they are subject to neglect, poverty, discrimination because they're queer, they're at risk for being trafficked, they have an unsafe home environment. Those kids end up homeless and we don't have services for them. But this chucklefuck wants to put them in prison And again, if you pretend you don't care about homeless people and you want to look at it from a completely callous monetary perspective, it's far more expensive to put homeless people in prison at the cost of what, $130,000+ a year of taxpayer money than it is to just fucking give them vouchers for housing and offer them addiction medicine treatment. It's far less expensive to treat the root causes of homelessness than to criminalize homeless Americans. Okay, sorry, I had to go on that tangent. Like fucking god damn it. Anyway, Brian Kilmeade then went on to say, felt completely free to say on air that homeless people should get involuntary lethal injections. I'm struggling to say it because I'm so mad. We should just kill them. About millions of homeless Americans, about millions of veterans in this country. Brian Kilmeade said that our homeless neighbors should get involuntary lethal injections and we should just kill him. And he still has his job. But you can't point out the horrible things that Charlie Kirk said without risking getting fired. By the way, this is Brian Kilmeade's half-assed apology. He faced no consequences for his actions, none. He just had to get on the air and give a completely lame-ass grovel. It's not even a grovel, it's just a, oh God, here, listen.
In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion.
Aren't you the same folks who say that empathy is a sin and empathy is one of our greatest weaknesses? I mean, Charlie Kirk said that. He said he didn't like empathy. He thought empathy was a detriment. Also, just like fuck off. You said what you meant. You think that homeless people should get lethal injections. Brian Kilmeade, I know you're a piece of shit, but you think that constitutional rights don't apply to homeless Americans? If a homeless person commits a crime, they are entitled to due process. I know that the Trump regime is trying to obliterate due process in this country. I also know that they were doing their damnedest in Washington, D.C. to round up homeless people. I understand that all over this country, we dehumanize homeless Americans because they make us face the reality of what late-stage capitalism is doing to us. We don't like having to look at the evidence of what our country does to veterans, what our economy, what the outlook, the mindset of this culture does to so many people. We also don't like having to come face to face with another American who is in a position that we could very easily find ourselves in if we had one financial crisis, or if you're, better off, if you're upper middle class American, two financial crises. We are all on the cusp of being homeless in this country, but we prefer to think that we're temporarily embarrassed millionaires or billionaires, and that we are, 3 steps away from being Elon Musk. You are a hair's breadth away from being that homeless person you are currently looking down your nose at. We don't like to have to face that. It makes us very, very uncomfortable. And so it's much easier for us to want to dehumanize homeless people and their mental health struggles and their substance use struggles and their poverty, because they are living, breathing evidence of what this country does, what capitalism does to other human beings, what the military industrial complex does, what the cost is of our military, what the cost is of how we treat queer youth, of the way that people in poverty are at much higher risk to being trafficked, to trafficking their own family members. We don't have to be faced with all of that shit. It's much easier to just dehumanize homeless people. And people on the right do it to such, people on the left do it too, but people on the right do it to such a huge extent that Brian Kilmeade can get on the air and say that all homeless people should get lethal injections and then just be like, just kill them. And nobody fucking bats an eye. He has to make one half-assed apology and he can move right along with his career. No consequences for him whatsoever. So I'm sorry to take this on a little tangent and wrap two subjects up together, but I've been wanting to talk about that Brian Kilmeade thing for a couple of days. And boy, oh boy, the contrast between that and Jimmy Kimmel. What they are doing to homeless people now in this country, they want to do to you. You are one crisis away from being homeless. Everything the regime wants to do to homeless people is doing to homeless people. They want to do to you. Where's your fucking solidarity? It's the super rich, it's the elites versus all of us. Please understand that the way that we get out of this includes the fact that we have got to acknowledge the humanity of everyone who is oppressed under this system. Homeless Americans are human beings. That a Fox News host could so freely spout that kind of cruel, horrible, dehumanizing rhetoric and get away with it. Yeah, just remember they want to be able to do that to you next.